Coming up, teachers cry out for respect and shut down traffic.
5 people charged in connection with the shooting death of Kurt McCartney. More on that rowdy scene outside of court.
And the country celebrates women. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
A day of protests as 2 of the major unions in battle with the government threaten to turn up the heat if their issues aren't resolved. Good evening, everyone. I'm Candino Knowles.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings. The Bahamas Electricity Corporation is promising that strike action could be evident if any of their members are cut next week when they're paid. Meantime, the Bahamas Union of Teachers continues to rally support as they try to move the government's hand on issues they say are being ignored. Well, today they took their frustration to the city center, literally bringing traffic on Bay Street to a stop. Tonight, Clint Watson has the latest from both unions who continue to dominate headlines with labor unrest.
This is an illegal demonstration. We need you to gather your people right away and leave their street.
Scores of teachers marching in solidarity with their union president, Belinda Wilson, as they continue to agitate for intervention on outstanding issues with the government. A surprise protest blocked up Bay Street early Wednesday morning as union members hope to get the attention of parliamentarians.
We will not stand by and be intimidated, victimized, or run amok. So we're saying to the Prime Minister, he needs to get it right and give Fitzgerald his walking papers. If he needs the teachers to draft it for him, we will write it, we will edit it, and we will send it to him.
Last week, Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald told ZNS News that in his opinion, nothing will satisfy the union, as he has already made commitments to address the issues and has been clear when they can have access to school for meetings. But that's not the only issue facing government. A looming strike could be presented at the Bahamas Electricity Corporation as a union headed by President Stefano Green continues to be at odds with the chairman Leslie Miller over national insurance benefits. Now the union says they will take action next week if their salaries are cut.
And that action could go anywhere from a strike to any other form of action that we decide to take in between there. And the union is very serious about this issue. The union dares Mr. Miller to him go and restore the electricity and go out there on the poles and do the work. We dare him to go and do it. We know he can't do it.
If BEC goes on strike, we have a contingent of men in Freeport, about 60 of them, that is ready to come up here tomorrow and do what has to be done. We have a crew in Miami. You know, we appreciated some time back. This guy been rattling and going crazy now for the last year or so, and we're ready for him. We will bring over a contingent of men, up to 200, from Miami. In 2 hours' notice, they will be here that same night, and we will have the lights restored. And those who did participate in the wildcat strike will be dismissed totally, especially Green.
And it's statements like that Green says he takes offense to.
And that to me seems like he's threatening not only my life, but also my employment here at BEC. And our lawyers will be consulted, and we will take the necessary action after advised against Mr. Miller for those statements that were made.
Listen, look at the threats. This man called me a dog. And the next time he does it, he will be dismissed from BEC for insulting the chairman. I have nothing against Mr. Green or no one else, but you must have a conscience. You must appreciate that no one should get double pay for being sick.
Now, as of late, unions have come down here to Rawson Square to voice their concerns, hoping to garner attention from politicians and government officials as they go to the House of Assembly for one last time. We've not seen that yet from the BEC union. In fact, we're not sure we will. They say they will take action that will cause a reaction. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Well, another group also vented their frustration today. Taxi drivers located at Prince George Wharf up in arms over a proposed relocation. And they held a press conference in Rawson Square this morning to bring attention to their plight. Fern Carey tells us more.
In 1958, we led this country into a strike because of this.
Slighted and angry, and to register their complaint, a large group of taxi drivers gathered in Rawson Square Wednesday morning. Representative and TUC President Obi Ferguson indicated that while talks were ongoing, taxi drivers do not know where they are being moved to.
The terms and conditions need to be clear to every taxi driver. They don't need to speculate. If they're moving from point A to point B, they need to know when, the circumstances, and not to put them in a place where they don't know what's happening. So we're here today to make that point and to make that statement.
Meantime, taxi drivers like Erica Vickers and Wesley Ferguson say they help to build the country and they feel that they are not being treated fairly. They also have the support of the Fort Fincastle straw vendors.
It is getting now outrageous out here. They're making it seem as though we are illegal when we have the badges that work that says that we are taxi drivers and we are legal to transport these guests wherever they want to go.
Whatever affects these tour drivers and taxi drivers affects us as vendors at the market on Fort Fincastle. When they don't eat, we don't eat.
For too long, taxi cab drivers have been pushed aside and we remain passive. I'm here to announce that taxi cab drivers are now united on one front with one goal to accomplish.
Now, Ferguson would not say whether taxi drivers plan to strike. However, he did have this response.
I got a call from the minister this morning. I had a conversation with her. I indicated to her that these matters got to be resolved. I gave her an undertaking that I would get back to her ASAP with a listing of all of the issues affecting these workers. We're going to meet with the minister in short order.
Now, taxi drivers plan to meet with the Minister of Transport in order to resolve this issue, but in the meantime, they want to make it clear that the fight is on. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Well, the Ministry of Transport and Aviation issued a statement this afternoon indicating that the ministry notes with surprise recent media reports which suggest that there has been no dialogue between taxi drivers, the Transport and Aviation Ministry, and the Ministry of Tourism relative to the closure of the Welcome Center for renovation and the proposed relocation of taxi drivers to ensure smooth operations during this transition period. Now, the statement also indicated that contrary to this suggestion, the Transport and Aviation Minister, Glenys Hanna Martin, along with senior Ministry of Tourism officials and senior officers from the Royal Bahamas Police Force Tourism Division and representatives of the Road Traffic Department have engaged in several hours of discussions with the leadership of the Prince George Dock Association, which represents taxi drivers at the Prince George Dock. The statement also indicated that any claim to the contrary is completely false and incorrect, noting that those discussions have been detailed and result-oriented. Further, the statement said the recent press conference led by Obi Ferguson has introduced a new element to ongoing discussions, and it has been agreed that the dialogue would now be extended to incorporate a future meeting with Mr. Ferguson. Well, the Union of Tertiary Educators of the Bahamas, or UTEB, has filed a trade dispute against the College of the Bahamas, claiming the college is not willing to work in good faith to conclude negotiations for a new industrial agreement. The union says those negotiations have been ongoing since February. UTEB, in a press release issued today, claims that talks have been stalled because the college has not provided information the union considers vital and necessary to the conclusion of negotiations. UTEB said on November 8th it requested some financial information from the college, inclusive of financial presentations given by the Vice President of Finance at the first of the month, among other things. The union also requested an itemized breakdown showing what percentage of the overall budget goes toward faculty salaries and benefits. The union claims it was promised the information before both parties returned to the negotiating table on November 13th, but never received the information. It's a move the union says is a further attempt by the college to stall what it calls an already slow-moving process. Meantime, ZNS News reached out to college officials for comment, but there was none up to airtime.
And now to news from Parliament. Lawmakers in the House of Assembly opened debate on the topic a week ago today.
Through increased penalties and other amendments, the government is hoping to significantly address the problem of crime.
Well, Carla Palmer reports on today's proceedings.
The Member of Parliament for Meguana, Inagua, Crooked Island and Launky, the Honourable V. Alfred Gray, says he's not sure that the proposed penalty of 15 years for illegal firearms fits the serious nature of the offence. He believes persons found with illegal firearms, the minimum jail sentence should be 25 years.
Mr. Speaker, when a fella is getting robbed, he don't look to see whether it's toy or whether it's a real gun. And so whether it's toy or a real gun, in my view, the penalty should be the same.
In addition to advocating for the creation of a gun registry, Minister Gray also called for licensed firearm owners to be more responsible and ensure that their guns are stored safely. As for parents, he's calling for more accountability.
Parents have got to take responsibility for their children so that they are discouraged from getting into gangs where they find love and appreciation. I think you could find more love at home. And if children find love at home, they don't need to go looking for love in the wrong places.
Member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, Minister of Tourism, the Honourable Obi Wilshcombe, says the government is doing all that it can to ensure that the high crime level does not persist. While applauding the police for their efforts, he says we must guard against any negative impact on our tourism product.
And just in Grand Bahama tomorrow, there'll be some more airlift coming to Grand Bahama with one of the airlines beginning new service to Grand Bahama from West Palm Beach. Again, Mr. Speaker, all intended to help us get to where we need to go. But we can't build on the one hand and then destroy on the other.
Should the proposed amendment to the firearms bill be made law, rifles above .22 caliber level will be illegal. Member of Parliament for Long Island, Mrs. Loretta Butler Turner, noted the difficulty this would pose to the hunting and sporting communities when targeting certain animals like boars, whose tough skin requires the use of a more powerful gun with a higher caliber. Having noted this concern, she also offered a solution.
In addition to being registered as proposed in the legislation, can actually go down to the police fire range, pop off their gun, and get a ballistic print so that you would know whose gun is whose.
Also supporting the compendium of crime bills was the MP for Rugged Island and Exuma, Mr. Anthony Moss. The debate continues. I'm Carla Palmer for ZNS Network News.
Well, a company out of the Middle East has pledged to help government further the local agriculture industry, ultimately taking Bahamian produce to the world. It's good news for local farmers who could make up to millions of dollars once the partnership gets off the ground. Minister of Financial Services Ryan Pinder, who is in London with a government delegation led by Prime Minister Perry Christie, told ZNS News that the government held follow-up talks last night with the heads of Agribi, who are ready to partner with the government to take local agriculture global.
They will have an entity come to the Bahamas to cooperate with the Agricultural Institute and Bahamian farmers to further develop not only agriculture for domestic demand, but a interesting concept of agriculture for value-added exports. In fact, the representatives from Dubai presented the Prime Minister with an official letter of interest in pursuing a project in the Bahamas and specifically in Andros, looking to develop and farm up to 12,000 acres in cooperation with the Agricultural Institute and advancing Bahamian farmers to grow items, like I said, for domestic consumption, but also for export within the region.
Got what are 10 days remaining in the tropical cyclone season, and we continue to look good on that. And but outside of our studios, we have near clear skies, just a few clouds, temperatures 77 degrees, your relative humidity 70%, winds out of the south at 3 knots, and your barometric pressure 1,016.0 millibars at 30.00 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned, temperatures around the Farming Fallon's travel and boating forecast is still to come.
5 charged in connection with Kurt McCartney's murder. More details coming up.
Bahamas celebrates Women's Week. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.